What's up, gang? Mike Leverett here, Head Trader True Trading Group, August 28th. Some updates on the two swing trades that I was talking to you about yesterday. Yesterday I told you about two swings that I have going on Beyond Meat and on PSTV. One worked, one didn't. But today, guys, today was a real head scratcher for me. I have absolutely no idea how or why the overall markets were as strong as they were today. Coming into the day on the SPY, I took a loss today on an option trade in the SPY. Made money on PSTV, but took a loss on SPY options. And I'll talk to you just a little bit real quick about the overall markets and kind of what was going on today fundamentally and why I was really scratching my head. Guys, at this point in my career, it doesn't really happen often. But sometimes the market just does what it wants to do, and you can't really make any sense of it. And I could not make any sense of the SPY today, guys. We gapped down today on the SPY, and I thought for sure that we were going to roll this over. I thought for sure that we were going to roll this over and get down into the mid to low 280s. Okay, we gapped below yesterday's low. Okay, yesterday's low was right here. We gapped below yesterday's low. We started to sell off, and we just ripped this thing back. And I can't for the life of me figure out why. There was some housing information, but interest rates are so damn low that of course that's going to give a boost to the housing market. That doesn't really, they were getting signs that the consumer was still strong. But today the yield curve, the 10 and the 2-year, okay, we're inverted, and this time, we're inverted for real. The last time that when we inverted the first time, it was very, very brief, and then we eventually took it back, and we were no longer inverted. But now, this is the inversion is deeper than it's been since 2007. We also had the 30-year Treasury hit an all-time record low. So the fact that the inversion is deepening and the 30-year is at all-time lows, the fact that we rallied this gap down today back really has me scratching my head. I was not expecting the all-day strength in the SPY, and I tried to short the SPY right here. Okay, right here is where I started to buy SPY put options, and then we just ripped this thing up to new highs, and I actually held through this. I held through this and still looking for the pullback, and we just never pulled this thing back. We actually went up here and made new highs, okay, late in the day, right into that power hour session. And at that point, I'm saying to myself, okay, I don't know what really is going on. I can't figure it out. I thought we were going to be weak today. We were strong, and we held it. And it had me really scratching my head. So I took a loss on that trade. So before I get into the update on the two swing trades, let's talk about this SPY trade. And I'll take you guys to my trade announcements. You can see here that I bought and this is intended to be a swing trade. I thought we were going to continue lower for like the next 2 days. You can see I bought the 286 strike, Friday's expiration put options, and like I said, I bought them right here, and it was because we were coming up right into like this resistance area. Okay, you guys see this resistance area is where I wanted to take a shot at this thing. You can see we had this little resistance area on the SPY, so when we came up there, when we kind of tailed, put that top up there, I said, okay, you know what, that's my spot. I'm going to look to grab some there and see if I can pull the SPY back down into to go red and then continue lower over the next couple of days as the bond yields continue to fall. And I just couldn't understand why the market was as strong as it was today. And I ended up exiting the position right there. Right there. So I was running at it. I don't know, guys. Like I said, today's a real head scratcher for me. I couldn't figure it out. It happens. It doesn't happen often at this point in my career, but sometimes it still happens. And I don't have I have nothing It beats me. I have no clue. All right, so just, I took the loss and that's it. Moving on. But it sucked. I really couldn't figure it out. Now let's get to PSTV. This is the swing that I entered yesterday at 1540. So yesterday we entered this swing right here. If you missed that video, go back and check it out from yesterday. We open up today and we explode right out of the gate, and I took some profit off right there at $19. Take it to my trade announcements here. You guys can see at 9:38, took some profit off PSTV at 19. All right, I was still holding some, and then we had this massive pullback all the way back down to 15. We went up to 20 and then pulled all the way back down to 15. This is an extremely thin stock. Extremely thin. Okay, so after that quick pullback, it happened so quickly, and then just started bouncing around here between 16 and 17. I held on through that initial pullback, but after the pullback settled in, I started to analyze it. I'm like, you know what? I was playing this to hold this level through this $16.50 to $17 level, this major resistance level that we have here on the daily chart. You guys can see all this resistance right here. All right, I thought that we should have held that. So the fact that we broke through it and then pulled all the way back down to this 15 level, I just said to myself, you know what, I'm not gonna mess around with this thing, and I exited right there at $16. Okay, back to at 16. Final take profit at 16. Again, I got long this at 1540 yesterday. Okay, this is a swing trade from yesterday. If you missed that video, go check it out. All right, but then, so that was the first trade. And then I went back into this PSTV and I went after it again. Because what I started to say to myself here is I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this stock is so thin that you've got to give it, some extra wiggle room, that it's kind of expected that the stock is going to tail through levels because of how thin it is. I mean, there were moments when this thing had a $1 spread. And what I said to myself was, here's this little pivot resistance area. Okay, here we are. All right, and I said to myself, if, in hindsight, really, like, we broke through, we pulled in, and I know we tailed through right here, but the stock is so thin that it's normal to overshoot those levels. But then you can see we kind of started to hold this together. So once we started to tighten up and hold this together, the trade line came into play, and I'm like, you know what? It kind of looks like the trade line is starting to hold support here. Then we had this quick pop above VWAP, and right there I jumped back in at 17.17. Taking my trade announcements here, you guys can see. And here it says a long tier 1. It was small size, guys, because this stock was, again, so thin. It was very difficult to get a large position in. So in a tier 1 size at 17.17. Okay, so there we are at 17.17. We get the trade line view, a crossover, and that shoots the stock through the high of the day, and we halt. As soon as trading resumed, I immediately threw some shares out there. As soon as trading resumed at 21.23, you can see here it took some profit off at 21.23. And then we halt again. And then as soon as we open for trading, we pull back in, we hold that level once again. And then we just trade sideways, and the volume really died out. And I just decided that I didn't want to hold on to this another day. So I exited the last piece of the position right there at 16.60 before the close. And then you had a little flurry of buying actually that came in right before the close. Guys, this stock, the inconsistency in its trading volume makes it for a very difficult stock to trade. I don't have a position anymore. I closed out the position, made a nice little chunk on it. Even though it was small size, I mean, you're getting like, $4 a share on the move, but even though it's small size, I'm still making some pretty decent P&L on it. But this is still on watch for tomorrow because we are now above that $17 level. And guys, this only has like 500,000 shares in the float. Okay, so if this thing starts to get some consistent volume, you could see this thing get real nutty. Okay, you can see this get real nutty. All right, so this is still going to be on my watch list going into tomorrow, and really this level is going to be your line in the sand. Okay, this like 1650, 1625, that's going to be your level. If we stay above that, you can look for this PSTV to maybe continue higher if it gets a little bit more consistent and steady volume. All right, and lastly, Beyond Meat, guys, for the last couple weeks, I had some Beyond Meat put options. I got them in here. The 150 strike, September 20th expiration, and I was money on this trade. Okay, we were looking great. We were rolling over. And then we come out with news 2 days ago, right here on this day, that they are testing plant-based chicken in one store in Georgia with KFC. And then that gave us a gap up on the 26th. That really screwed up my trade because we were selling off. You can see we're in a clear downtrend. It looked like we were going to, continue lower and ride that thing down. Technically, if there was no news, I think Beyond Meat trades much lower. But over these last couple of days, we've just had press release after press release, and it's holding the stock up, and it squeezed it right through my stop loss area today. Very, very frustrating. This is the day that they announced the news with KFC. You got follow through yesterday, and we got rejected yesterday, okay, at the level that I was looking for my resistance. This was my resistance point. So when I take you to the daily chart on Beyond Meat, you can see here this previous support level. That was my resistance. So we got up there yesterday, tested that level, and failed. And we started to roll back over, and it looked like Beyond Meat was going to then start to roll back over and give back the KFC news. And what do? The company comes out today and announces they're expanding their agreement with Carl's Jr., another food chain. So that got the stock moving again, and we went up there and we squeezed right through my stop loss area. So I exited. Here you guys can see at 315. I exited the Beyond Meat 150 strike. September 20th put options. I exited them at $6.67 a share. This was a really tough decision that I had to make. Okay, when we got up here into this area, I had a very tough decision to make because everything in my gut is telling me that this stock is going lower. This reminds me a lot of Tilray. When Tilray first IPO'd, it was a very small float. The share structures are kind of similar, very small float, a lot of hype behind the name, and the stock squeezed up to it was a big short squeeze up to 300. Beyond Meat IPOs, small float, similar share structure, a lot of hype behind the name, and the stock gives you a massive short squeeze up to $240. After Tilray cracked after that 300, the stock now trades at $26. I don't think Beyond Meat's going at $26, but I think it's going lower. Once all its shares from the pre-IPO lockup became free trading, it put a lot of pressure on the stock on Tilray. A lot of people sold, and the stock price really pulled in as that float got bigger. And during that time, the company was coming out with like press release after press release, partnership after partnership, trying to hold that stock price up. And now it's like Beyond Meat, it's like almost every other day we're getting some type of a press release coming out from the company. And it just feels very similar to Tilray. And it's like everything in my gut is telling me that Beyond Meat is going to eventually get down to 120, especially once the pre-IPO shares become free trading, which I believe is mid-October. But the struggle that I had today was, okay, well, do I just stick with my gut on this and take on all this extra risk than I originally planned when I entered the trade, or do I be disciplined and listen to my mind instead of my gut and say, stay disciplined, stick to your stop loss, manage your risk? Because I cannot control the press releases coming out of Beyond Meat. There's no way I could have known they were going to announce a deal with KFC and they were going to expand their partnership with Carl's Jr. while I'm trying to short the stock. Okay, there's no way I could know that or foresee that. It's one of the extra risks of swing trading. You're susceptible to news releases and news headlines to the opposite side of your trade. Okay, so I can't control that. But what I can control is my risk. What I can control is sticking to my stop loss. So I had a real tug of war with myself this afternoon about whether or not to cut this trade loose. And I decided to go with my mind and stick to my risk and stick to my stop loss because we breached my stop loss. My stop loss was that 161 area. We got all the way up to 162.50. So at that point, I felt like I was starting to get a little irresponsible. I was starting to fall in love with the trade a little bit, and I decided to just cut it loose. So if Beyond Meat gives back this move over the next couple of days and eventually does go lower, I'm going to be extremely frustrated. I maybe will look to enter the trade again if it sets up that way. But I feel like I was being irresponsible if I did not cut the trade loose with these press releases and the chance of maybe getting another squeeze type move. So I was already taking on more risk than I originally planned when I entered the trade, so I decided to cut it loose today. All right. So I'm glad the day is over, honestly. I'm glad the day is over. So it was a frustrating day with the SPY, was kind of a head scratcher for me. The Beyond Meat, the PSTV worked out well, but I'm still red because of the having to realize the loss on those trades. So that's it. Frustrating day, was a kind of a head scratcher for me, like I said. But tomorrow's a new day. Got to have a short memory with this, and we'll come back tomorrow and look to get back on track. All right, I'll see you guys in chat. Take care.